Welcome, everyone. You know, I'm just so happy. I'm just looking at the attendees, and you know, I worry now. It seems that everyone's jumped on the bandwagon and started doing things on a Monday night, but our numbers keep growing, honey. So obviously, we're doing something right. I just wanted to remind everybody that the project now is in memory of Lili Nishmas, Razel Bas Reb Moshe. I hope I got that right. Mrs. Wise, who passed away last Sunday, who was a true woman of courage, and would like to welcome everybody here. Um, I don't know so much about the speaker tonight, but I know my daughter was visiting me from Eretz Yisrael over Hanukkah, and she said, "Oh, Mum, you do this Women of Courage. You have to get this amazing woman from Eretz Yisrael. She's called Smadar Morag." I said, "Yeah, she's on our next stage." And just a bit of news that Hani and I were discussing last week. We know how difficult the situation is, so we are extending Women of Courage Watch Your Space for another 3 or 4, going right up to Purim. So watch out. We will be doing another 4 sessions after this. We're just working on bringing in our Women of Courage. Thank you very much. Whoever put that over there, Rifki. Oh, thank you, Rifki. Right here. Okay, Hani, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, and Mazel Tov to Michelle. As you all know, tonight's event is a joint event with Manchester Aguda and Chabad of Golda Screen. And this Women of Courage has been a very, very wonderful event. It's taken women from all over the world. It's one of the positive sides of COVID that we've been able to get from all speakers from all corners of the world. And tonight we're going to Eretz Yisrael for this event. I also want to say that I am dedicating tonight's event, tonight's talk, in honor of a refuah shalema for Rivka Bas Chana, and she should be benched with a refuah shalema very, very fast. Just, of course, my screen just went off. 1 second. Okay, I'm going to welcome Mrs. Smadar Morag, who is a star in the world of Dutch entertainment. Smadar was an actress and a singer who tried hard to hide her Yiddishkeit until at the peak of her career, she was given a role in Fiddler on the Roof. She was playing the role of the daughter Chava. Smadar's spark of Jewish identity was kindled, and she set on a path to further her spiritual fulfillment, both personally and within her career. I personally heard Smadar a few years ago, and I was wowed. And when we were looking for speakers, I said, Smadar is one of the ladies. So we are, without further ado, going to hand over to Smadar. We are honored to have her, even though it's very late, because she's already ahead of us in Eretz Yisrael. But welcome, Smadar.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much, Hani, for your kind words. And Michelle, that's also very nice to hear that your daughter already saw me in Eretz Yisrael. The weather here in Israel is stormy. Winter came. Last week it was beautiful. So I have to be honest, I was so glad that I don't have to take an airplane now to London, because that would be very inconvenient, like, woo, going like this. So thank you, all of you, being here tonight on Zoom. And Baruch Hashem, Hashem gives us the trufa, the medicine, because before he gives us the makkah, the nisayon. So I'll start with a little song I really like to sing, and I hope it will sound okay in your living room or in your bedroom, wherever you are. With a rising sun on the wedding day, she raised her eyes to the heavens and thanked Hashem for the man of truth. With him she would build a nation, but when night time came, destiny betrayed, a veil concealing another. Yet a sister shame. Nice to hear, Michelle. Not a shattered dream. Woke up to a house, not a senses. Mama Rachel, cry for us again. Won't you shed your tear for your dear children? בזכותך תשבו בנים לגבולם. רחל אמנו שיא קולך, שוב שפכי דמייך לפני קונך. בזכותך תשבו בנים לגבולם. You can start my PowerPoint. רחל אמנו, Mother Rachel, Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope that she will hear our praise we have now. I'm sure that everyone is longing for a change, that we want to go back, not to our normal life, but to a better life, to a real life. And it took me many years to understand what it really means to live your life to the max. You can put the PowerPoint on play. You see that 3 women, my mother, my grandmother, and me. Next picture, please. My name is Smadar Morag. It's a very Israeli common name. You can put the next picture, if that's possible. But I'm Dutch. And my story starts like 85 years ago. I don't see the picture, the PowerPoint. I'll keep continuing talking. And the moment you have it on, I'll see it. It starts like 80, yes, very good. 85 years ago, a woman here is knocking on her door. She runs to the door. Next picture, please. And she sees a letter. She picks up the letter and she reads out loud. She says to her husband, we have to be at the Dutch Theater of Amsterdam. We have to be there in 2 days with 2 suitcases. What are we going to do with the baby? He looks at her and he doesn't say anything. In the morning, she takes her little baby and she walks with her little baby through the streets of Amsterdam. And she stops at the butcher's shop. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. I have a baby of 9 months old. Could you please take care of her? Yes, hand me over the baby. She hands over her little baby. But before she hands over her little girl, she kisses her. And she whispers in her ear, never ever forget that you're Jewish. And she hands over her little daughter to the butcher, an unknown man she doesn't know. She goes home and together with her husband, she walks up to the Dutch Theater of Amsterdam. Maybe some of you traveled in Amsterdam and you went to the Hollandse Schouwburg. Nowadays, it's a place of memories and there is a museum. Next picture, please. So my mom was 9 months old. Next picture. When she was given away, a little baby. Yeah, and you can put it on play, please. A little baby. And she was given away, and my mother was really traveling from family to family to family because everywhere my mother didn't stop crying. A little baby of 9 months old only wants her mother. So my mother went through 12 families. Everywhere they were like, oh, no, we don't want this crying baby. That's much too dangerous. So at the end, my mother arrived at family van Lint van Erk. A mother, a father, Both of them, they didn't have children, and they were hiding 13 other Jews in their house during the Holocaust. And they really were longing for a baby, but the women couldn't get pregnant. So now finally, Hashem gave her a baby. So my mother was adopted by that family you see in the frame. Familie van Lint van Erk. And they loved my mom, and they cherished my mom, and they gave my mom everything she needed. After the war, all the Jewish people who were living inside of the home of my grandparents, that, by the way, that's how I call them. For me, they were my grandparents. All the Jews went back to their homes, villages, and only my mother stayed with that Christian family. And my mother didn't know that she was Jewish. My mom never heard about Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat, we are going to celebrate now, next week. My mom never heard about Purim, Bezrat Hashem, that's also coming up, or Pesach. My mom didn't know anything. My mom was raised like a Christian, and my mother would also celebrate the Christian holidays. And when my mom was 12, next picture, my grandfather came to the conclusion that it was time to tell my mom the truth. He opened up a suitcase. My mom saw there a picture, toys, letters, and then she understood. They told her, you are Jewish, and these letters and toys are yours. When you were a little baby, you came to us, this suitcase was with you. Can you understand? This suitcase really took care of my mom. It kept her identity. Many Jewish children, Dutch children, Jewish Dutch children, they just lost their identity, and for years they didn't know who they were. So that's called chesed. So my mom said to herself, wait, if I'm Jewish, I want to know what it means to be Jewish. Next picture. My mom decided she's going to make Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. She wants to be a nurse. She wants to take care of people. She came to Israel after the 6-Day War as a volunteer. And next picture, please. And my mom would drive her car up to the mountain Carmel. She would drive up and she would drive down, and she was in a rush, and she was honking her car. Come on, I'm in a rush. I'm too late for hospital. Come on, go. Well, it doesn't help. So she took her car and she crossed the white line. After 1 second, she hears, wee, 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 wee. Well, my mom didn't see, but a police officer just stopped her car. Excuse me. Yes? Miss, you just crossed the white line. I crossed the white line? I'm really sorry. I didn't see it. No excuses. You know what? You may choose. Cup of coffee or a ticket. So my mom said to the cup, okay, we'll have a cup of coffee. And my mom married the police officer. By the way, I allow you during my performance to write me things in the chat. Otherwise, I have the feeling that I'm talking to myself. So I want to feel you, even though I don't see you, but you can comment, you can ask, it's fine. I'm used to it. So my mom married the police officer, and my parents, they are like Bashert. They are like a match of heaven. Yes. Because, I mean, really a match of heaven? Yes, because my mom is a real Ashkenazi. For sure, you know what it means. Most of you are, I think, Ashkenazi. I can't see you, but I suppose so. And my mom is like the real Ashkenazi, real English Ashkenazi. She's like always smiling. My mother will never shout. My mother always talks very soft. She won't say what she really thinks about you. She would only like smile. And she married my father. My father is from Egypt. My father always told me when I was a little girl that he and the Pharaoh were the best friends, and that he, together with Moshe, told the Pharaoh to let my people go. For years, I remember them. No, I'm sorry, I don't remember your grandparents. I'm a little bit younger. So I looked at my parents and only thought to myself, like, what kind of shidduch is this? Well, how did they meet each other? My father is black, my mother is white. My mother is quiet, my father makes noise. I mean, I couldn't get it. So at a certain age, you just tell, yes, my father was the Jewish policeman. Yeah. So I couldn't get that match. So I said to my mom, Mom, you know what? I'm gonna choose a completely other husband. I'm not gonna make the same mistakes like you did. I think I'm gonna marry an American because I think that's great. You will have an American passport. And now with the coronavirus, who is American really gets a lot of money from Trump. Huh? So Baruch Hashem, I succeeded and I married a Moroccan. So yeah, and when you marry a Moroccan, I don't know if you have, for sure you have Moroccans in England. You don't. You do. So my mother-in-law, my Schwieger, it's something else than a Schwieger, by the way. A Moroccan mother is mama. And when she saw me the first time, she only looked at me. And the only thing she said was, Habal lo Marocaite. Tov Baruch Hashem, Yehudia. What a pity. She's not Jew, but Baruch Hashem, I'm sorry, she's Jew. She's not Moroccan, but okay. Baruch Hashem. So I was born in Israel. You can put the PowerPoint on play. And I was a little baby and I came to Holland. I left Israel when I was like, I think a year or something. And I came to Holland. And I was raised in the same village my mother was raised. It's a village next to another village. I'm sure you ask yourself, like, why go back when you were born in Eretz Yisrael and you're going back to the same village your mother was raised? I'm sure you have places like that in England or next to London or Manchester. You have those little villages where you don't have Jews. Well, I lived in a village like that. We were the only Jewish family. Can you imagine the only Jewish family? Because I'll tell you why. My grandmother, my Christian grandmother passed away. Unfortunately, I didn't know her. My grandfather, well, he was by himself and he became a little bit sick. So my mother wanted to take care of her Christian grandfather. She had something like, he took care of me, I want to take care of him. And my father thought like, well, it's the 70s, that's good. It's a good opportunity. You know, in the 70s, the Dutch really loved the Jews. And when you said you're from Eretz Yisrael, they would like, oh, really? And well, there were a lot of economic opportunities. So my father saw that really as an opportunity. So that's why we came to live at that little village. And I grew up in that little village with only non-Jews surrounding me. I only had, yes, you can put it on play, that picture, that video. I only had non-Jewish girlfriends, and I was studying at a Christian school because there was not a Jewish school, and we were not eating kosher because my parents even didn't know what kosher was. My mother was raised as a Christian. My father, yes, he was an Egyptian Jew, but he also didn't really learn from his parents what it means to be Jewish. So we were raised like, yeah, well, we didn't eat like pork, but or other things were which aren't allowed, but our kitchen wasn't kosher. We were not keeping Shabbos, nothing. We didn't know anything about it. So I was a little bit similar to all the girls in my street at school, but I was different. I also looked at the mirror, and I saw myself, and I was like, I look different. I have like black curly hair, and now it's a little bit blonde. I have like black curly hair and dark eyes, and my skin is also not so white, and they are all like blonde, tall girls. And well, I didn't like it that we were different, and I wanted to be like them. And as a little girl, I understood that my mother was the only survivor of her family. Maybe I was like 3, 4 years old. I remember those times my mother was just crying. And I would see her looking like she has a little album with only 12 pictures of her family. That's it. And I would understand as a little girl what happened to my mom. And even though, Baruch Hashem, my mom is a very happy person and a positive person, even if you don't tell your kids about your sorrow and your pain, your kids feel everything. You can't fool kids. So I felt it. And I said to myself, why would you like to be a Jew? Why? I mean, it doesn't bring any good. Look in history. I mean, all the time they're looking for the Jew. I think it's the first time in the world that there is a crisis that they didn't blame us. And if they didn't till now, maybe they will in the future. Every time, thank you. Every time I saw like they're always searching for Ye, and they will always blame the Jew. So I don't want to be Jewish. I didn't say it out loud, but I thought to myself, like it's better to be like everyone around me, like the Christian girlfriends I have. So I got at a very young age disconnected from my heritage. No, kids they wouldn't make jokes about me, but I remember, because you asked, I don't know, by the way, if everyone sees the questions in the chat. I suppose you do. They never made fun of me, but one time I was, I think, 10, and something was going on in the classroom, and then someone said to me, "You filthy Jew, did you take that pencil?" And I remember that I was shocked. I was completely shocked that someone would say that to me. By the way, we don't have electricity. Do you still see me? It's interesting. Okay, you can't see other people's questions, so I will answer at the question. 1 second, I'm gonna see if I can put on the electricity at home, because we have a problem with electricity. 1 second, I'm gonna run. I'm back. I'm back. Yes. I'm back. I'm here. So that's the first time that I really asked myself, what do other people think about me? At the age of 18, you can go on. You see me? Okay, very good. At the age of 18, I left my parents' home and I went to live in Amsterdam. Amsterdam is one of the most beautiful cities, I think, in the world. Did you visit Amsterdam? It's like it's like Venice, but cleaner. And it's not so far away from London. You can take, or Manchester, you can take the train, you can go with your car, I think, also through the tunnel. It's better not to fly. So in Amsterdam, I went to the School of Arts. I always wanted to be an actress. I always wanted to become a singer. And I did audition and I was accepted to the School of Arts.
Is Smadar very small?
There's someone not on mute. Okay, thank you. And I always dreamt about being an actress or a singer, and especially in musical productions. I always loved musicals. When I visited also a few times in London, my dream was to really become an actress on West End. And in Holland, when I finished my 4 years of study as an actress singer, I started to perform in many, many musicals, like Fiddler on the Roof. I played Java, Mamma Mia the musical, Jungle Book, and another musical. For sure, all of you know this story and the songs in this musical. You're gonna guess in 1 second. By the way, this musical is about Israel, and this song is about longing to Jerusalem. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. For sure you recognize it, huh? Somewhere over the rainbow. The Wizard of Oz. Who does know this musical? You can write it on the chat. It's about Israel, by the way. Many people don't know it. But the one who wrote the lyrics and the words, both of them, the composer and the, how do you call the composer? Yes, are Jewish. And Somewhere Over the Rainbow is really about Israel. It's unbelievable that the whole story of this musical is about longing to be there in Israel, to be in the place which feels like home. And the whole story is about Dorothy and a search of finding the truth and the place which she can call home. But if they would call this musical Yerushalayim, for sure it wasn't on Broadway and West End, so they were clever. Thank you for your compliments. So I played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and I played in many other Dutch theater spectacles and musicals, and I did things for television, and I was twice nominated for Best Actress. I was nominated, I didn't win. And everything I did in life was only for my career. At the age of 32, we can go back to my PowerPoint. I understood that maybe now it's time to find myself a nice husband. When it's very, for many people, like it's 32. Wow, that's old. But when you grow up with non-Jews, you make their culture your culture. And many of my friends didn't get married, or they got married at a very old age. So for me, it was even young. I was one of the first girls in my musical to get married. So at the age of 32, I went to an Israeli party, and I thought to myself, well, maybe I can find myself a nice Jewish husband. And Baruch Hashem, at that party, I hear like, who are you? I'm like interviewing him. Yes. What? Divorced? Huh? 11 years older than I. 3 kids. Moroccan. So I showed him immediately that I'm not interested. But you know, I'm Dutch, so I'm polite. So he asked me a few questions and I answered, and then he told me a joke and I laughed. And then we got married. We got married in the Portuguese synagogue of Amsterdam. I don't see the PowerPoint, but I will go on. We got married in the Portuguese synagogue, one of the most beautiful synagogues in Europe. You don't have electricity over there, only candles. There is no minyan every Shabbat, only when there are tourists. And then they don't do they don't have the shachrit in the synagogue. They do it in a little building next to the synagogue. So when I walk in as a bride, I hear Shalom, boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam v'simcha u'v'tzala. And I understood, like, I am the bride. I'm gonna start my life here. I'm gonna build a family. And after that chuppah, no, I was not from at my wedding. And I also married a non-from guy. By the way, it's good you asking me. A lot of people wanted me to let me know nice guys who were from with the little kippah, millionaires. And I was like, no, I'm not interested. I don't want to marry a from guy. How stupid was I? If I would know in the future, because at the end, that Moroccan I married, money he also didn't have. But okay, that's another issue. You can't buy yourself happiness. Yes, it was a beautiful chuppah. And I was also very touched. You know why? Because my grandmother from my mother's side, she was Portuguese Jew. So I really felt like connected. After my chuppah, I went back to my acting career. I didn't give it up. I just kept on acting, musicals, TV, and I was married. Okay, now we go a few steps in time. Otherwise, we're going to be here till tomorrow night. My husband opened up a kosher pizza place. How did he come to Holland? He worked for El Al, you know, that flying company. You know those days, once we used to fly. So he used to work for El Al, and that's how he came to Amsterdam. And he just wanted to do something else in his life, and that's why he opened up a kosher pizza place. Maybe some of you came to our pizza and had pizza. It's the only kosher place in Holland. We were not kosher, nothing. But he thought it was a good idea. He said to me, listen, yeah, you were there for Midi Sandhouse. Very good. Thank you, by the way, for having our pizza. Baruch Hashem, thank you very much. By the way, I always ask if people had our pizza. I always want to check if there are people still alive who had our pizza. Nah, I'm joking. His pizzas were amazing. But I'll tell you something funny. My husband doesn't know how to cook. I said to him, how are you going to make pizzas? He was like, it's very easy. You take a dough, you throw it in the air, and then you have a pizza. And I was like, kosher? I mean, we're not kosher. He said, don't worry, I will get someone and he's going to take care. And don't worry. We opened up the kosher pizza place. To make a long story short, my husband made tshuva and became religious. He became from in the pizza. And for sure you asked me like, how did he become frum? Because you know why? Because you people came to our pizza and you start talking to my husband about Emunah and about Hashem and about the Torah. And he was talking to people here, like family Jacobson. They enjoyed the pizza. And they also took to my husband about the Parsha of the week. So every time I didn't think about it, that a kosher place would invite kosher people with kosher talks. So they started to talk with my husband, and then my husband understood that he doesn't know anything about being a Jew. And then he started to develop like a plan. He said to me, listen, I want to know what it means to be Jewish. I'm going to keep kosher. I'm going to keep Shabbos. I'm going to change my life. You know, I'm Jewish and I even don't have answers what it means to be a Jew. For me, that was devastating. I mean, my whole life, I'm trying not to be connected to my heritage, not to be connected to my Judaism. I didn't tell people I was Jewish, by the way. Also, when I was an actress and I became really famous, only when I really had to, I told I was Jewish, but I always tried not to get at that subject. And I always tried also to feel more connected to other things. And now in my home, my husband, he becomes frum. I said to him, listen, I don't think I'm going to stay in this home. I don't think that you and I should go on. I mean, it doesn't really match. I'm in theater, I'm on television, I'm not frum, I'm not going to keep Shabbos, I'm not going to change my life. And he said to me, why? I didn't ask you to change your life. I'm the one who's going to change his life. You can just go on and do whatever you like. That's what he said to me. He said to me, like, listen, Friday night, Shabbos evening, you know, I'll go to the synagogue. You work. Shabbos morning, I go to Shachrit. I go to davening. You work. I go to Mincha. You work. I go to Arvit. You work. I go to Malevai Malka. You work. And I was like, excuse me, I decide when I work, yes? He said to me, listen, you never can change for someone else. You can only change if you want to change. By the way, that's also a very big lesson for everything in life. Many times we think that we can change others. And the most difficult thing in life is to change yourself. And because that's so difficult, we want others. Yes, can we play the video if possible, please? Why, you don't like to look at me? I'm joking. Maybe we can go back to because it's nice, then they also can see what I did in theater and on television, but maybe there's a problem with the PowerPoint. We will try. I'll continue, okay? So people always find it easier to tell other people what they should do to change because it's very hard for us to change. So he said to me, don't even think I want you to change for me. You just do your thing, invest in your career, and I'm going to invest in myself and in Emunah and in my connection to my creator. And he just kept Shabbos by himself for a few years, and I kept on with my career. Hani, I think there's a problem with the share screen or something. Just do this with your head.
It's going. It's working.
It's going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
it's going.
Oh, now I see it. Now I see it. Very good. Yes. Maybe you go back and then you can show them like a little, it's the one before that. Then they can see me in musicals. Next one, sorry. Yes. Put it on play. And now you have a short show reel about me. You can see me, what I did in theater and on television. In 1 second, it will play. There is no sound to it, so that's me. in the early years with my long curly hair. This is a television show about me, and I would host also programs. I would sing on TV. Here, see me in Fiddler on the Roof at the left, in purple, as one of the daughters of Tevye. Yes, I know, I look so Jewish over there. That's why they took me for Fiddler on the Roof. Here you see, and this is me hosting a television program. Okay, we go on with the next. You can go on with the next. Just skip it, skip to my story. Next one. Let me see what it is. Next one. Oh, this is nice. Yes, show them. Because all of them, yes, that's funny that you say that. When I used to wear, this is the Portuguese synagogue. Just keep it on because then you can see me and my husband under the chuppah. That's interesting. Someone writes to me, Liza Minnelli. When I used to wear like wigs still here, they would tell me I look like Liza Minnelli. And when my mother was young, they would tell her that she looks like Judy Garland. And Judy Garland played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Isn't that funny? Here you see this beautiful synagogue. Up, yeah, there you see me and my Moroccan husband. And now you will see my mom. Look, doesn't she look like the Queen of England? She was like, oh, who would believe this? You would marry a Jew after everything you did to us. Okay, go on with the next one. So my next one. So my husband started to become from, that's the pizza. Next one, we're gonna skip a few. And after a few years, Baruch Hashem, I got the most beautiful present. There it is, my firstborn. Yes, my biggest present. And I think it's the best role I ever played without getting a salary. And I hold my little baby and I couldn't believe that I became a mother. I was almost 36. Finally, Baruch Hashem, I'm a mother. And I look at this little baby and this little baby looks at me. And I thought it was the most beautiful baby in the world. And then I was at home that year. Next, I was at home and I started to celebrate Shabbos. I couldn't get back to theater because I missed out of all the productions. I had to cancel like 5 productions because I just gave birth. And for me, that was fine because I wanted to enjoy my little baby. And for 1 year, I was at home and I started to sit at the Shabbos table with my husband. And I started to ask a little bit. And I started to think about my life. When you give birth to a child, and for sure, I'm sure many of you are mothers, even though I don't see you and I don't know how old are you. Maybe you are grandmothers, maybe you are grandmothers. But I'm sure that if I will ask you, do you remember the first time you saw your little baby? You will tell me, Smadar, of course, I will never forget that. It's such a divine moment. It's such a moment. I cannot even describe it, but I felt like there has to be a creator who made this amazing thing. And I just felt something. So I started to ask. And my little baby grows up and becomes bigger. And I start to think about life. And after that year, I went back to the theater. Next, you have to skip 2. And I went back. No, now you went backwards. I started to think about life. And after that year, I went back to the theater and I started to light my candles in theater. And I would come home and I would see the little challah pieces on the tablecloth, the white tablecloth. And I would ask myself, what am I doing? Do I want to raise my child as I raised myself, not being connected to the challah and to the white tablecloth and to be connected to him? When you have a child, you start to think about everything, how I want to raise my child. And of course, it's something which takes time and a lot of thinking. And after a while, I understood that if I want to give my child a real identity, I have to know who am I? I have to know who am I and to whom I am connected. And of course, it was a huge step, but I understood that I have to be truth with myself and to search for Emet. And then I started to keep Shabbos and I left the theater. And it was easy for me because I felt that I did the right thing. I felt I was walking in the right direction. You can put on the next picture. And then I understood that if I really want to live with that connection, we have to make Aliyah, because a lot of people in Holland knew me and I didn't feel comfortable that people would see me and ask me things like, what happened to you? Aren't you that actress? You're not performing anymore? Why? Why aren't you answering your phone on Shabbos? Things like that. I felt like I have to make a change to become more me. And then we as a family decided to make Aliyah. And we made Aliyah to Israel 10 years ago. Meanwhile, Hashem also gave me a daughter. So with 2 kids, we made Aliyah, next picture, and we came to live in Ashdod. And yes, you can put that on play. And we live near this beautiful beach. And I walk a lot. When it's summer, I'm there every day. And I started to talk with Hashem and really ask him, like, what do you want from me? How can I connect to you more? And then I understood that I really have to jump into the sea, into the deep sea. Not really, yes. But take a risk. And then I took upon myself more and more things. And I became more and more connected. And the funny thing is that I gave up theater in Holland, but that came back in my life because people in Israel start to ask me, could you perform for us? Could you tell us your life story? And I started to develop my own one-woman shows. And I have my show about my life. Thank you, Des. That's my daughter. She also performs with me. She sings. She is lovely. She's now 13 years old. And I started to produce my own plays. Just before the Corona, I produced a beautiful play. It's called Downside Up. And I did audition all over Israel. And I was in search of the most talented girl who has Down syndrome. And I took 2 girls who have Down syndrome and I trained them. And they are my main actresses. And it's a beautiful play. Thank you. About Down syndrome, because unfortunately in Israel, there is still, it's still like a taboo, and some women still leave their children behind. And we were an adoptive family when I was young for a Down syndrome boy. So I felt that I have to do something with it. And Hashem gave me, Baruch Hashem, the talents and everything that people want to see my shows. So I made a beautiful play about that. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we will bring it also to England. When, if Chaz v'Chalila Mashiach will not come, then we will come. Or maybe we'll also come when he comes. I don't know what life will bring us. But we also translated that play into English. And by the way, both of the Down syndrome actresses, both of them are American, and they speak English, Hebrew, and Yiddish. So next picture. Next picture. No, you cannot access the video. I'm sorry, but I'll tell you what you can access. We go to the next picture. So next one. So my story ends with this picture. Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot this one. Here you see me like with all the shows I do in Israel, but there is no sound though, so that's a pity, but I'll tell you. I also do kiruv, so I make all kind of items on internet in Dutch about living your life meaningful. I also do a lot of things to promote things for Israel. This is my show about marriage. It's called You Are Always Right. Isn't that the most romantic sentence? My daughter also sometimes performs with me. She sings. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Next one. Here, you will see now the girls, I think. Next. Yes, here you see the girls with Down syndrome, Libby and Dini in the play Downside Up. Beautiful colors, huh? It feels like ages ago. Can you imagine? We played like 20 plays and then everything stopped and everything was canceled. Can you imagine? I'm not performing in theater almost a year, 10 months. And I have to start with the girls all over again when we will go back. It's crazy, but what can I do? Next picture. So my story ends with this. Thank you. Next one. Next. With this picture. This is the Dutch theater. When I lived in Israel, my parents still didn't make Aliyah. Baruch Hashem, my parents made Aliyah a few years ago. But the first few years we were living here, they were still living in Holland. So I took my kids with me to visit my parents. And I took them to the Dutch theater, the Hollandse Schouwburg. My story starts over there. And that's the first time I explained to my children that I never knew my grandparents and that my mother was the only survivor. And as you see, you have like a wall behind them with all green little names. You can see it. And I told them that the names of my grandparents are also on the wall. And my kids were like, really? What are the Jewish names of your grandfather and grandmother? We will say Tehillim for them. Next picture. And I said to him, 1 second. First, mommy wants to take a picture. And when I look at these pictures, I see victory. And you know why? Because my kids are raised and connected. Because my kids, I try to give them as much emunah as I can. Victory, because I raised my kids in Eretz Yisrael. And their language is Sfat HaKodesh, Hebrew. Real victory, because my son did his bar mitzvah here in Eretz Yisrael with my parents. And he was Chatan Bereshit, so he did the whole parsha of Bereshit. And it was a big victory to see my mother next to me in synagogue with tears in her eyes. And I said to her, Mommy, those tears are tears of victories because your mother gave you away. And before she gave you away, she whispered in your ear, never ever forget that you're Jewish. Baruch Hashem, I also didn't forget that I'm Jewish. Thank you very much. You can ask questions, and really from the deep depth of my heart, I really, I'm so longing for Mashiach. I'm so longing for another world. And I really wish that we can all dance together at Bet HaMikdash Shlishi B'Mira, and that we can hug each other and kiss each other and celebrate together. Now I'm going to see the questions. I'm going to open it up.
Smadar, thank
Yes.
you. Really,
You're
really
welcome.
phenomenal in every way. The entertainment, the teichen, the message, a big thank you.
Thank you very much, Hani. You're very welcome. Okay, I'm going to see the questions. Let me see. Yeah, where can you watch some acting? Well, you cannot watch acting, but if you want, I have a CD, and if you want to have my CD, Hani, maybe you can give my details or my email, and people can order my CD, and I can send it to your home in Manchester or in London. Thank you for your compliments. Thank you, Baruch Hashem. What was your parents' name? My mother, her name is Evelina Sonja Roselina Meijer. Really a Dutch name, huh? And my father is Leon Katzin. My maiden name is Katzin, and now I'm Morag. Other questions? Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Let me see. I hope to come as soon as I can to you. Thank you. Okay, other questions? I see someone wrote about Ashdod. Let me see. Thank you for all your beautiful remarks. Ah, that's interesting. How did we find Ashdod? My husband used to come when he was visiting Israel to a rabbi, and that was his rabbi, Zichrono Levracha. It's the rabbi of Netivot. Maybe you heard about him, Aberji. He was also very, very connected, by the way, Hani, to the rabbi. And he said, he asked him, should we make Aliyah? And he said, yes. And then he asked him, where should we live? And he said, Ashdod. And we didn't know anyone here. And it's not that I choose Ashdod because it's very far away from his mother, joking, but I love the sea. And when I lived in Holland, I always had that dream. When I will make Aliyah, I'm going to live next to the sea. So I love Ashdod. And this place where I live, this area, you have a lot of Olim. I have friends from Turkey, Mexico, Africa, from London, by the way, Stanford Hill. I have friends from all over. So it's very nice. And also Israelis. And in this neighborhood, we have everything. Haredi, non-Haredi, modern Orthodox. And I like to mingle, like to have like a very mixed community. Let me see. Another question. What was the hardest for me in Tshuva? Do any of the oldest? Yes. Oh, that's also, someone asked, do any of the old actresses are they in touch with you? Well, I didn't really keep contact with everyone, only with two, because they were really my friends. You know, they say that in showbiz, you don't have friends. And unfortunately, it's true. So a lot of those friendships are very on the surface. But with two, I have still contact, and we see each other, we talk with each other, and yes, it's a very long friendship of 30 years, something like that. And they're not Jewish, of course, and they really respect that I made this change. It's very interesting to see that a lot of my Jewish friends I gained in Holland through the years who are not religious, they found it more difficult that I changed than the non-Jews.
Yeah, it's very often like that. Very often.
Yes. So they respect, and when I come to them, they really respect. And I saw another question, and what was the hardest for me in Cuba? Whoo, it was to cover my curls. Yes, to cover my hair. I think that was the most difficult thing. I think we're done with the questions, aren't we?
I have here a question.
more,
What
someone asked-
was the name of your grandparents that were killed? Do you know what happened to them?
Yes, I know what was happened to them. My grandmother is called Rosalina Meijer, and my grandfather was called Abraham. Her name was Rosalina Montesinos because she was Portuguese. Montesinos, like the mountain of
Right.
Sinai, and Zion, and my grandfather was Abraham Meijer. He was a German Jew. And unfortunately, they were killed very quick. They came from the Hollandse Schouwburg to Sobibor, and in the first few days, they were already sent to the gas chambers. And yes, I know about the whole family because you have a book, and there you can see exactly everything in details. I mean, the Germans were so pünktlich that everything is written down.
Smadar, thank you. Michelle, do you want to say anything before we close the meeting?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. Number one, somebody asked if she can do another song, which I would also request. I don't know if Smadar is comfortable with that or not.
Yes, I can sing another song. Why not?
And then, Hani, could we do a capital to him before we finish as well?
Yes,
so please,
yes.
everyone stay for that.
Okay, one second.
Since you started with my favorite song, I have a friend in London called Caroline Cohen that was also a West End star that became religious. I don't know if you ever heard of her.
Yes, I heard about her. I heard about her.
And every time she does a concert for me, she always has to do my Morocco. I'm like, she knows. Yeah. So like when you started with that, that was amazing. So
okay, but I'm not gonna, now I'm gonna see something singing something in Hebrew. Yes, I heard about her. Caroline Factor. Hana b'koach dulat yamincha tatir tzerua kabel rina amcha sekveinu tareinu nora Ana b'koach gdulat yamincha tatir tzerura kabel rinat amcha segveinu tareinu nora nagibor sheychutcha kevat shemra barkem tareh רחי צדקך תמיד גמלה חסין קדוש ברוב טובך נהל עדתך יחיד כאל עמך פנה זוכרי קדושך שבתנו קבל ושמע צעקתנו יודע תעלומות הנה בכוח גדולת ימינך תתיר צרורה, קבל רינת, עמך סגבנו, תרנו נוחה. שבתנו קבל, ושמע צעקתנו יודע, תעלומות. Okay, sing with me from your home. ענה בכוח, גדולת ימינך, תתיר צרורה, קבל רינת, עמך סגבנו, תרנו נורא. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the nice comments in the chat. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hani, and thank you, Michelle, for you inviting me from my couch here in Ashdod, in a live performance to you in London, Manchester. Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope next time to meet you live and then tell me like, Smadar, remember me? I was at your webinar, and then I will give you like a big Corona-free kiss. So Be'ezrat Hashem.
Honey, I just wanted to say something that first of all, I heard somebody asking this week for positive COVID stories. So one of our, Hani mentioned at the beginning, we would never have been able to do this project if it wasn't for COVID. And again, I want to repeat to everybody that's listening that normally people would pay hundreds of pounds, that, you know, it costs us thousands of pounds to bring people like you and audiences, and we do this for free, which is a massive privilege for us. But I don't want to go into detail about my personal life. Some of you will have heard, I got engaged yesterday, which is a nace in itself, and I just want everyone to believe one thing, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do anything. My story over my engagement and my dating period over the last 8 months defied every rule of the lockdown. I didn't break any rules, and neither did my husband, but through 2 lockdowns and 8 months of Corona, we managed to meet in London, come to LA, all with full permission from the government. And Baruch Hashem, we have a future which we're trying to plan. I heard that Boris Johnson closed down the airwaves in London, so I might be stuck here for a bit, but I want everyone to believe that I really feel that I have to say HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do anything. So because what I think more people than the shock of me getting engaged in Manchester was like, how on earth did she do that? So, and I believe when we see people like you live on screen and we hear your stories, and from the West, well, I would say the West End in Holland and here, it's just unbelievable. Like Hashem is there, he can do anything and bring us amazing people like you. I'm just totally,
thank you so much,
inspired.
and I'm
so thank you so much.
Glad to hear
and
about
I've told
you.
Hani,
Mazel tov. Michelle,
yeah,
Mazel tov to
I've
you.
told
That's
Hani,
amazing.
Baruch here, thank you very, very much. It's hard because I lost my husband. Everybody knows in Manchester, my husband died just over a year ago, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu just sent me this bracha, and it's not normal. But anyway, I texted Hani that I want to bring you back before Purim to do just a musical evening of inspiration for our ladies, probably together. So Hani will be in touch with you if you agree
Very
to
good.
that.
And by the way, I want to add, Michelle, I want to add, it's so true what you say. You know, because this is a short time we're together now here on Zoom, but it's so true what you say. And I'll tell you, if I wouldn't live now in Emunah, with everything which goes on, I mean, and I think it's for a lot of people, I really feel that getting Emunah and having that present, that's what keeps you sane and normal during this crazy period. I mean, in Israel, we're going through our 4th lockdown. So I think that Emunah, Emunah is just we have to feel Hashem every day, and He's with us every day. We just have to ask.
Yeah, it's true. I said to my husband, like when we spoke and things were very serious, and it's never going to work. Forget it. And everyone said, "What's your plans?" I said, "I don't know. Hashem will sort it out." Like that. I told Khani. Khani's been involved. Like Khani met us in London. I don't know. Hashem will sort it out. I mean, I applied for a visa to come to the USA. Nobody can get in. Within a day, they'd accepted me. I like, yeah, Hashem, I'm in your hands. And now everyone says, "What's the next plan?" I'm like, I don't know. Hashem will tell me. He'll guide me. He's there. But you just have to totally surrender yourself. And I know it's hard to say it, but that the truth is, I've seen it, and people know my story from what happened with my husband's illness. I've told it in Manchester the same, that we surrendered ourselves to Rabbanu Shalom, and we saw Nissim and also very hard things. But now I'm telling, like, I'm being paid back 20-fold. So everybody just hang in there. We're nearly there. I'm telling you, we're nearly there. And just trust in the Rabbanu Shalom.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Sorry, I'm feeling a bit like inspired today. So you have to just apologize.
Thank you, Michelle. And I will lead the kapitel Tehillim. I'm going to say kapitel Kuf Chaf Aleph, chapter 121, Kuf Chaf Aleph. I'll say it slowly for people can repeat or take your own Tehillims. And I'm asking specifically for a Refuah Shalema for Rivka Bas Chana and all the Chayle Ama Yisrael, everyone. Shir Lamalais Esa Einai El Hahare Me Ayin Yavai Ezri. Ezri Me Im Adonai Eisei Shamayim Va'aretz. Al Yitein Lamayt Raglecha Al Yonam Shemrecha. Hine La Yonam V'Lo Yishan Shemer Yisrael. Adonai Shemrecha Adonai Silcha Al Yad Yaminecha. Yemam Hashemesh Lo Yakeka V'Yarech V'Layla. Adonai Yishmarcha Mikol Ra Yishmar Es Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmar Seitzcha V'Yacha Me'ata V'Ad Olam. And this galus should come to an end now. Thank you, and we're going to close the meeting.
Thank you very much.